Alright, in this video, I'm privileged to take us on electrostatic force, that is the definition and the calculation, and also some exam possible question on electrostatic force. Okay, but before we start some of the calculation here, let's try to know what this is said to be, that is what electrostatic is said to be, before we know electrostatic force. Please take it. There's electrostatic force. Okay. Now let's know the first one here. Okay. Now please write electrostatics. Electrostatics. Let's try to know what electrostatics is. Alright. Electrostatics is divided into electron and static. Be divided into electron and statics. All right, so now let's know what electron is and let's know what statics is. All right, please write electron. Electron simply means charge or charges. Electron simply means charge or charges. Please take note. So statics simply means rest. Statics simply means rest. So let's know all together here. Let's know what electrostatics is. So electrostatics let's know what electrostatics is. Okay, electrostatics is the study of charges. Electrostatics is the study of charges at rest. So what does it mean here? It means that the study of charges at rest is said to be electrostatics. Okay, so our intention here is for us to know electrostatics force. Our intention here is for us to know electrostatics force. So what is electrostatic force? That is the force between two charges. Okay, electrostatic force is the force between two charges. All right. Okay, now let's try to know what electrostatic force is. Very important. Electrostatics force is the force between two charges. At rest. Full stop. the force between two charges at rest is known as electrostatic force. Please take note of that. Okay, this is electrostatic force, very important. All right, so the next thing here we have to consider is the concept of charges. After then, we can now consider the calculation on electrostatic force. So let's consider the concept of charges. The concept of charges. Okay, subheading please. Concept of charges. Concept of charges. Concept of charges. Concept of charges. Okay, now the first concept of charges is the first one here, like charges. The first concept of charges, number one, like charges repair. Please take note. The second one here, sorry for this. The second one here, unlike charges attract. The second one, unlike charges attract. Okay, but before we solve any question here, class, let's know what Coulomb's law is, because to calculate the force between two charges, there's a particular law needed to calculate the force between two charges, and that law is known as Coulomb's law. All right, I told us about electrostatic force. Okay, we mentioned about what electrostatics is and the concept of charges. We say that like charges repel, unlike charges attract. Please take note. So, but if I want to calculate electrostatic force, what law is responsible to calculate electrostatic force? So the law responsible to calculate electrostatic force is known as Coulomb's law. So let's try to know what Coulomb's law is and know the application of Coulomb's law before we solve any question relating to electrostatics force. All right, now please write Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. Coulomb's law. Okay, now let's know what Coulomb's law is before we solve a question here. Please write. Coulomb's law states that Coulomb's law states that Coulomb's law states that the force of attraction or repulsion is directly proportional to the product okay. Okay, let me clean the board here. We say that Coulomb's law states that the force of attraction or repulsion is directly proportional to the product of the two charges and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. Okay, now at this point here we have to know how to apply Coulomb's law, but let's first of all finish up the statement. They said directly proportional to the product of two charges in bracket Q1 Q2 and inversely proportional to the square of the distance. The square of the distance is square of the distance arrow square. All right, so class, let's try to represent this statement here in a mathematical expression. So mathematically class, mathematically F is directly proportional to Q1 Q2 over arrow square. All right, so class, sorry, this is the mathematical statement of Coulomb's law. Okay, the next thing we are going to do here is to understand this particular expression here. Okay, next is to understand this particular expression here. They said, okay, is to understand this particular expression here. They said the force of attraction or repulsion, that means this force here can either be attractive or repulsive. This force here can either be attractive or repulsive. So we are going to know when this force here is attractive and when this force here is what? Repulsive. All right, we are going to know when this force here is attractive and when this force here is repulsive. So class, this is what you should understand here. For us to know when the force is attractive or repulsive, it depends on these two charges here, these two guys here. for us to know when this force here is attractive or repulsive, it depends on these two charges here, because it's only charge that can be attractive or repulsive. So what does it mean here? It means that since this guy here is in a direct proportion, this guy here is in a direct proportion. That means anything that happened to force, will also happen to what? The charge. Anything that happened to this charge here will also happen to what? To the force, because they are in direct proportion. So the increase in this force here is going to lead to an increase in this charge here and also this guy here. So for us to determine, or for us to know the nature of this force here, we have to first of all know the nature of the charge. So if the charge is attractive, it means that the force will be attractive. And if the charge is repulsive, it means that the force will be what? Repulsive. So if I have two charges in this way, I have plus Q and minus Q. So since this particular charge here, these two charges are attractive, it means that the nature of this force here will be what? Attractive. If I have this to be the two charges to be plus Q and plus Q, these two charges are repulsive. That means the nature of this force here is what? A repulsive force, to be a repulsive force. So for us, in summary, for us to know the nature of the force, we have to know the nature of the charge first. Okay, now in our next video we are going to solve some of the questions here as far as electrostatic force is concerned, and some of the exam possible questions. All right.